All right, all right, all right. Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good day to you, depending where you're coming from. Really want to appreciate you coming today to the Voice of the Microsoft Partner, brought to you by the Crancer Group. I think today, we're going to have a really, really good show. We've got some really great speakers. We're going to be talking about mastering growth using event marketing, and we're going to be going back and forth. We've got some great speakers here. A couple of quick things for us. We make sure that you utilize the chat window here to network with your fellow people, your fellow partners that are actually attending here. So you can go ahead and put in your name and your company and maybe what you specialize in. You never know, there might be a good way to start working with each other. So we're big fans of trying to connect partners together with this. As you can see, we have a little bit of a new layout here. We're going to be uplifting our whole production value significantly in the next couple months here, or next month really. We're building out a full studio, and it's going to be pretty darn cool. But with that being said, today is a discussion. We're changing up a little bit of the format today. Instead of doing all the updates in the very beginning and waiting to get to the actual meat of the actual program, what we're going to be doing is kind of getting started like really quickly, kind of getting right in there. So that's going to be really important. So also utilize the chat window to go ahead and put in questions. Now, if you're on LinkedIn Live or you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, there's a chat function there. We have a whole team in the background actually, putting these things together and monitoring those chats. So what they'll do is they'll take the questions that we have, and you can be asking our great guest speakers. Then what we can end up doing is ask them those questions, and then we can give you some good answers for that. So, all right. So with that being said, what I want to do is talk about, I think next month, this is save the date. So it's going to be the last Friday of the month, April 26th. 2024, and we actually have Nick Hetty coming here, and he's actually the CRO for PAX 8. We're getting a C-level executive from PAX 8, good friend of mine. He's coming in, and he's going to be talking about the crucial role of distribution for business growth. After that, we're going to hopefully have Andrew Bowe from Microsoft, which we're so thrilled to potentially have in here. I kind of talked to him earlier than that. So that's going to be really crucial. Now, I do want to make an announcement today that is critical to many of the folks that are out here. Microsoft is coming out. They may have announced it yesterday, or maybe it's actually coming out today. New partner solution designations, okay, for smaller businesses, for SMB partners. Now think about this. We've talked about partner solution designations in the past, right? But I think one of the things that we've heard a lot of impact is two things. Skilling requirements are really, really difficult to get, right? Because you don't have enough people that are skilled enough to get those PhDs. But the second thing is we've been learning that we've been getting feedback about the levels that you have to hit with sales and enablements. So they're coming out with a whole new group of partner solution designations that are for the smaller partner. So it's going to lower some of those things. It's going to allow you some of the mechanics behind it. If you have the sales and enablement, you can get, I think, don't quote me on this one, I think what I heard was 60 of the 70 points, right? So then the skilling requirement is a little bit less burdensome for you, because some of you got to get your people together. Really important. Now, as a company, as Crancer Group, we actually have a new service. Really, if you are trying to get your partner solution designation, but your main issue is skilling requirements, we now have a bank of about 300 certified Azure specialists, security, and we have to have some new data and AI specialists that we can assign to your organization to help you along with those skilling requirements. That has been covered with Microsoft. We've already talked to them about how we're going to help that. And it's really meant as a bridge to help you get these PSDs. So if you're interested or you're having trouble with partner solution designations, getting those skilling requirements, we've got something that is really, really pretty awesome. And we'd be happy to just talk to you about it. You can schedule a call. My guys will be reaching out to different people and bringing them in. So All right, so we got Dave in here. Perfect. Okay, so that's save the date. That's just the one announcement. That's it. Here's the agenda. We did our welcome. We're going to be introducing in just a few seconds here our guest speakers, Dave Seibert, and Vince Menzione and Jim Ratichek. Vince can't make it today live, so we actually did a recording with him. We got some of his things. Vince is helping or actually planning the wedding for his daughter. So we got to make sure that we're okay with that. But he's got some great insights today that we're going to share. And then we have a kind of a special treat in the end of the show, but middle of the show. We're bringing on Josh Rogers. Now, Josh works for me, but I consider him the Michael Jordan of appointment setting and sales and enablement. So listen to Josh, man. He has got some really great ideas. His tenacity, it's really, really interesting what he's done. And, I think a lot of us, when we hire salespeople, it's always, are they going to be good? Do they understand what they're talking about? Do they get it? Josh really comes with some great ideas, and his background working for Intel and some other big companies is going to be really impactful. So with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm going to bring on Jim Ratichek. Jim, would you mind? And Dave, you can go ahead and come on camera too. Awesome. Jim, would you mind just introducing yourself? Because you're coming from the partner perspective for this. So Jim, and a little bit about your company.
Sure, yeah. I'm Jim Ratichek with AP Logic. Good morning or good afternoon to all of you. We help companies focus their communication systems and their culture so that nobody in the business has to wonder where to find files or messages to do their job. I kind of call it eliminating organizational ADHD. And we do it primarily by helping companies migrate and simplify their structures in Teams and SharePoint and adjust their culture accordingly so that they can be focused and have clarity in terms of what they're supposed to do and where they find information in their business. I think in a world of overload and sporadic, scattered messages everywhere, it's something that I didn't even realize myself how badly I needed it for my business, and I certainly didn't expect the number of challenges and things that other businesses are having that we're now helping them with.
Wonderful. And you do a lot of partnering with partners, correct? I just want to make that kind of clear here. You work with a lot of partners on some of the things that projects or things that they're working with. Can you just maybe touch on that just for a moment?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, over 90% of our business comes through the partner channel, primarily from MSPs, but also other tech providers. And again, mostly in the Microsoft space. And we work with them on projects that involve, full cloud migrations, partial cloud migrations, customers that are already in the cloud but experiencing these types of communications challenges. Sometimes we work with Dynamics people who, again, are doing some type of a project, and these types of communications challenges come up. And so they ask us to sort of step in and help, or vice versa. We oftentimes run into major infrastructure problems when a client wants to learn how to focus their communications. And so a lot of those infrastructure needs are solved by other Microsoft partners that have the capabilities to manage things in Azure or whatever it might be.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so let's go ahead and play Vince really quick here. Vince has an introduction. In case you don't know, the great Vince Menzione. We're going to go ahead and have him introduce himself. Go ahead and play. All right. All right, let's go to Dave Seibert. Seibert, Dave, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? And then we all have also an announcement for a program that you have coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sherman. Great to be here. So, for those that may not know me, I wear quite a few hats in our industry. So, I have a 25-year MSP business here in Southern California, and I happen to be about a 12-year Microsoft MVP, and I run peer groups for MSPs. And then, more in line with the topic today, I also do events for our channel called S&B Tech Fest, and they happen 4 times a year. If you've never had an opportunity to check them out, you're pretty much looking at our main stage right there. And the event is in sunny Southern California. And some of the things that kind of make the event unique is that it's done from a partner MVP perspective. And I love panels, panels like today that bring experts on and share from a partner perspective back out to partners. So we can talk more about it, but there's a link, and delighted to be here today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I've attended many of the tech fests in the past when I was at Microsoft, and then recently spoke at one. It's 2 days, so like we have different perspectives, on how to do these things, but they're really fantastic. And you can either meet in person, okay, like actually go to the event if you're in Southern California, but you can also watch it online too. So there's a couple different things. They've got just great speakers from all different areas. So, I'm a big fan of Dave. If you have some time, check it out, sign up for it. If you can't be in person, make sure that you come online and watch some of the sessions. They're really, really pretty good. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get into our next item that we need to take a look at, and that's mastering events for business growth. Okay, so we're going to get right into it, right away. So the reason why we put this together today is what I wanted to do is help our audience, or the people that we influence per se, understand the power of working events, right? So there's live events, there's webinars, there's broadcast events. Like this is a live broadcast, right? Events. There's industry events. There's a lot of different things that you can do. But we also, other reason I want to put this together is not many people really understand how to monetize the events, or what is the impact? Why are you doing this, right? And so we're going to have 3 different perspectives. We got Vince, who's doing the ultimate guide to partner success. He's doing a lot of podcasts, right? Then we got Dave, who's actually got 4 shows a year, which I remember thinking, why isn't he doing this every month? Then I went to one and I get it. There's no way. There's no way. It's unbelievable, right? And then you look at what we do. We are 1 hour of power, right? We just want to do 1 hour events, short, simple, quick, pros and cons to each one. So I think that's really where the discussion is going to lie, is to get in different perspectives. Now Jim, he doesn't put on a lot of events, but what we wanted to bring Jim in here is to give the partner perspective, because he's attended some of these things, but he's also put on some with some really great ideas behind putting that on. So that's really what we're really kind of getting into today. So, I'm going to start off, and I'm going to give this, we'll give this to Dave to start off with, is, let's just get into the perspective of event marketing. Okay, let's lay a foundation here. Why, I know you have an MSP business and you started this Tech Fest, but why has it become, one of your main things that you're doing on a daily basis, and why is it maybe the holy grail per se of how to drive relationships and net new business?
Yeah, you actually, you kind of gave the answer right at the end. It's all about doing business. And as big as our industry is, it's actually a pretty tight industry. And at events, you get to make friendships. You get to know people, and people want to do business with people that they know and like. So by coming to an event, that gives you an opportunity to meet partners you may not know. Obviously, they have clients, you have clients, and it really is the beginning of how to team together. P2P is a big popular phrase, partner to partner. And you can actually do a client together. Not everybody has the same expertise or the same geography. or the same client base. So instead of a small project, a lot of people will team together for a larger, more profitable project, and they'll pull together their circle of partners, their trusted circle, if you will. If you will, Sherman, we go back quite a ways, and Jim as well, and Vince, and we all do business with those that we know and that we like, and that's one of the big benefits of doing events. It obviously also pulls in the customer as well, which is vital to the process. So whether you're targeting partners or targeting customers, we're all inside that same ecosystem of making business, driving it forward, and going after growth.
Excellent, excellent. And Jim, let me ask you, like, what is your perspective on it? On event marketing or doing these things. What are your thoughts?
Sure. So I think that from the standpoint of an attendee, first, I'll attack it from that standpoint. I think what's made it worth it is that it creates a forum for an organic connection where we can talk about things that are both life and business. And in fact, the reason I'm here today is because I actually reconnected with Sherman at Dave Seibert's Tech Fest a month or two back. And we had a real discussion about life, about marketing, about what we were doing in our businesses, and that led to me being on the forum today. And so that's, I guess, a pretty anecdotal example. But in terms of the marketing aspect of it, again, where we've done events and we've been successful has been pretty small. We're kind of a niche company, and we've worked through the partner network as we already, the people that we already know and have met and done email marketing and things like that to basically publicize what we were going to do in advance. But I certainly could learn a lot from both of you about, event publicity and things like that, for sure.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's get Vince's take on this. I think he's got a really interesting perspective, and then I'll give you mine from how we do it. Vince? So, I'll give you kind of, my thoughts on it. So, I'm a big believer in hands-on labs. We do probably 20 to 25 hands-on labs a month for our partners, right? So we actually put the cheeks into the seats, right? For our, that's a way of putting it. We find the people on the cloud consumption journey and put them in there, right? But I'll tell you one thing. So when I left Microsoft, And I think this is the best way of doing it. When I left Microsoft, I thought to myself, okay, how am I going to get my name out there? How am I going to work with other partners, right? And what should I do? Should I spend money on all different types of marketing, right? Advertising and doing this and all that stuff, kind of keep them relevant. And I thought to myself, actually, the better way of doing it is putting on an industry call. And that's where we came up with the idea of Voice of the Microsoft Partner. Okay, we started really, really small, and it's blown up, to some really interesting. Last year we had one event that had 2,600 partners on. The AI one is crazy. So we fluctuate up and down. But what I'll tell you is we've been doing this for about 4 years now, which is crazy to think about. 4 years we've been doing that, and we're building up a great base. We get probably 200 to 300 views of this full hour, within about a week of actually presenting this, right? So my idea was, what I'm going to do, is I'm going to put together an industry call, and I'm going to provide education. And as you know, with us, we don't commercialize this very much, right? We really don't. You hear about Sherman or Crancer Group in the very beginning in a little commercial, but I'm not here to tell you like, hey, come buy me, buy me, buy me, because I thought, a better way of doing this is raising my profile in the industry, right? By then interviewing really good people so that you, the partner, okay, who's my customer, can get ideas on how to make your business better, faster, quicker, and whatnot. And naturally, then what we end up having is a lot of organic conversations afterwards. And I think that this is actually probably one of the most powerful ways of growing your business is consistently putting something together. And you're seeing a different perspective here. We all do it a little bit differently, right? But that was the reason why I put it together. And you have to be consistent. It's not easy. We've gone from me just doing the whole thing all by myself, and now I got 6 people on my team that are helping me out every single month, putting this all together. So those are the things that I just want to share with you as the reason why I did it. And I think from a partner perspective, if you're in manufacturing or you're in healthcare or any other vertical, like you're in a vertical, what I would suggest you do is you do something very similar to the VOMP, and you make it a manufacturing hour once a month. And then what you would do is all you need to do is go to your client base. It's very simple. Everyone says, oh, it's so hard to get a speaker. It really isn't. Actually, when you call somebody up, you say, hey, look, I'm going to be doing a feature on this. And this is how I talked to Jim and Dave about this. I'm like, hey, we're going to be doing an hour, want to hear your perspective, right? So you would go to your client and say, let's say he's the CTO of a manufacturing company. And you say, look, I want to ask you 10 questions, how you approach IT in your in your vertical, right? A lot of people want to come to these things. They want to be featured. They want to be looked at as leaders. But if you're to do 12 of those, okay, and you start your following, now birds of a feather flock together. Okay, birds of a feather flock together. Really, really important to understand that, right? That's just my advice on it. And it's harder to execute it, but if you're going to do any one thing, I think something to do with events. So, okay, I leave that there. Let's get to the next question here. Dave, have you been successful with event marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the great thing about it. Regardless of what size partner you are or what budget you have, you can do this because we do lunch and learns that maybe only have 15 people that attend, but that's what you want out of a lunch and learn. You want that more intimate environment. And as Sherman said, we can bring in a subject matter speaker that may only speak for 10, 15 minutes, but boy, will that be a valuable 10 or 15 minutes. And I'll kind of give a fun plug, and that is Microsoft MVPs are always looking for opportunities to speak at events because it's part of their give back to the community. And I also do, SMB Tech Fest, larger event, several hundred partners attend. But regardless of what size you are, you can team with another partner that complements what you do, and that way you can have that budget together. Oh my gosh, pull in a nonprofit. If you pull in a nonprofit partner, you could probably get the venue at nonprofit rates. So there's all kinds of things you can do. And MDF funds, a lot of vendors want you to have events and they want you to talk to your prospects. And they're willing to put, money on the table to help you promote your business. So there's a lot of ways we can dive in more, but there's a lot of ways that you can do to get started online, in person, lunch and learns, partner with somebody, MDF, nonprofit, all of these things allow anyone to really get started and then scale it to the size that meets your need.
Excellent answer. I love that. I really do. That's good stuff. And I didn't think about the MVP community. I can't believe 4 years into this and I haven't tapped that MVP community. That's crazy. All right, Jim, have you ever been successful in event marketing?
Yeah, sure. And in fact, in our case, we had to be a little more organic and do a little more guerrilla marketing in a sense. I didn't have the experience in the background and the connections that you guys had. But backing up just a little bit, what had happened, the prelude to this was we were a custom dev company that had transitioned into doing the work I was just talking about, helping people get focused in Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. And we needed a way to sort of launch. I needed some sort of like fine break in the progression for our company when our partners would know that we were doing something new and different. And prior to that, our company was based up in Central California, and I'd actually started flying. The way I came to the Microsoft partner community in Southern California was by flying down. So my very first IMCP meeting that I ever attended, I flew a small airplane down to Santa Ana, got a rental car, went over, walked in the room, said hi to a bunch of people, had no idea what I was talking about or what I was doing there. And then fast forward, that was 10 years ago. And what ended up happening, we ended up opening an office in SoCal right at an airport there. And so I took advantage of that situation to actually rent out a venue that was in the office building where they actually do weddings and things like that, and they have full food service and a bar and all that. And so we said, hey, why don't we do something fun? Because when most of the partners found out that I was a pilot and I was flying to IAMCP events and flying to meet clients at the time, I had a big client engagement in SoCal, and we flew on a weekly basis. It actually enabled me to get down there, work a full day with the client, and fly back without having to rent hotels and do all that kind of thing. So it was really something other partners were interested in. They said, hey, can I learn to fly? And there are actually several of you that have at this point. And so I decided to kind of mix it up, and this was kind of what spiced it up. We did the guerrilla marketing thing, and we had the event at the airport where our office is in SoCal, and kind of invited some pilots to come, invited some other aviation types, and then invited all the I'll call them the geeks from the tech community that I was connected with through the Microsoft IMCP primarily. And so we did that. And I'll get into some other things a little bit later. But we made this event where people got a chance to learn a little bit about aviation and how you can enjoy it personally or professionally, and talked about our launch of our new information focus that we're working on with Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. So that basically went out in the form of email messages. I worked through a bunch of partners. There was a few other partners that fly that came over, and so that was how we were able to make that event a success. And so people really enjoyed that. It went better than I thought it would. We did some little geeky things. We had, if you're a tech person, you had a little laptop sticker you could put on your shirt. If you were an airplane person, you had a little airplane. So we, kind of mixed and met people through that.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and yeah, I love that whole thing with the plane, right? I mean, there was something to actually provide there, right? And a good story, behind that, right? So let's get into Vince. We asked him the same question. I'll go ahead and let's tee that one up here in just a moment. While you're teeing that up, oh, there we go. Okay, go ahead. Good push play. All right. So one thing I do want to share that is really important when you're doing any type of event marketing is understanding very specific metrics that come with event marketing. Okay, if you're doing, and this is not a timeshare. Okay, timeshares are different event marketing, but seminar selling. Okay, some of you may have heard this before in the past that I talk about this, but you have to understand like seminar selling. There's very specific metrics. Imagine if you have 100 people that come in. Okay, 100 people come in, and they're here to listen to you talk about Microsoft Fabric. This is a good example, okay, because they want to learn about Microsoft Fabric. So 3%, three people are ready, willing, and able to buy today. This is the metric. We had Gartner do this for us when I was at Microsoft. 3%. Now, between 4 and 20 of those people are ready, willing, and able to buy, but they don't trust you. Okay, they don't like their person, but they don't trust you. Okay, and then from 20 to 100 of those people, that 20, the 80% are people that are here to learn about information. They're happy about their current provider, or maybe they don't. Maybe they're in a contract, or maybe they haven't decided when they're going to do it, but they came to that your session. Okay, so your real target market, and this is why I want to explain it because it's a long tail process. Those three are great, right? You can talk to them right away. But what you have to also think about is, okay, now I've got 100 people that came into my event that for different reasons, they're interested. So you got somebody who's interested. It's very hard to find people that are interested in something, right? But you need to have an incredible follow-up process. And this is where a lot of people fall down with event marketing is, how are you following up with them? And the biggest mistake that I see, and maybe Dave, you can we can debate on this, but the biggest mistake that I see is they will send one or two emails after that saying, hey, set up an appointment. I want to talk to you how I can provide MSP services to you. Right. And they send one or two and it's like buy, but they're not nurturing the reason why somebody came to the event. Okay. They're not giving them more things to think about. They're not providing them extra stuff. They're not a giver. Right. Because you got to remember those metrics in month 2, it changes. Right. Those 4 to 10 or 4 to 20 now believe in you. Maybe now they trust you. Dave, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really good points. Let me add a few more thoughts to that. And the first one is that when you do an event, regardless of its size, don't think just about prospects. Think about bringing in your existing client base. And that's because when you have a mix in the room of prospects and existing clients, they're going to talk together. And like you said, some prospects may be there to learn, but they're not convinced yet. They're not quote, knowing that you're the right person to go with. But when you have a partner, a client in the room that's part of the event and they share their experience that they have with you already, it's a contagious, fantastic story. I'll give you two more marketing follow-ups as well. The first one is do something at your event that's a little outlandish, exciting, something that causes people to talk about it. So Jim, you're going to like this. At one of my events, my theme was the sky is the limit. And what I gave away was rides in a Cobra attack helicopter. So there's only 2 functional Cobra attack helicopters in the United States that are non-military. And I happened to have a great contact that had access to one. And I raffled off and I played the video at the next event of the person's trip inside the attack helicopter. Now you're getting people to talk about the event now. You're getting people to talk about the excitement of the event. Take headshots, and therefore you have a reason to follow up. Hey, thanks for coming to my event. Here's your headshot. Here's a group shot. Here's some of the fun activities that we did. They know who the subject matter expert is in the room. You don't have to really go there. Instead, just stay human, stay connected, and they will connect with you.
Oh, I love that. The attack helicopter, I think I missed that event. But holy Moses, talk about a little extra flair there. Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, transitioning into our next conversation really is what are some of the challenges that you've seen? And I'll start with Dave here. What are some of the challenges with event marketing? I'd like to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, and you touched on the fact that if you have a list, obviously it makes it easier to do an event because you have people to invite. It starts there. But if you don't have a list, you have more resources than you probably stop to think about. And that is you have groups on Facebook, you have groups that you're part of on LinkedIn, and it is the town hall. It is where people go to socialize, business socialize. So when you do your event, reach out to your list, reach out to your customers, ask your customers who would be a great prospect that they could give you an introduction to, and invite that person to your lunch and learn, and promote it. Just like Sherman does an awesome of putting this out on LinkedIn events. And therefore the audience is not only his followers, but everyone who either likes or shares it is extending that audience. And I love the budget, meaning LinkedIn events is not a costly thing to do. But between the followings that you have on social media, the groups that you're part of that you can post your event, your lunch and learn inside of, the email list that you have, most people actually have a fairly good list to have a successful event. And make sure you remind them. That's just a really big thing. And that is, don't send one invite, they accept it and let it be. People really need multiple touches. It's just the busy world we live in. So remind them, hey, you're registered. I look forward to seeing you. Or even give them an action item. When you come to the event, bring ABC, whatever your theme is, and let them feel like they're actually part of it. And I think that will also up your attendance rate as well.
Now, Jim, from a partner perspective, let me ask you that. What are some of the challenges that you kind of experience, like when you attend something? For example, like how long it is, or like when you come and attend something. What do you see from that perspective?
Yeah, so actually, if I could just back up for a second to dovetail with what Dave said from a
Yeah.
presentation or from a standpoint there, when we did the airport event, one of the things we did successfully was initially we didn't get a lot of reaction from all the emails and outreach that we did. And so what I did was I kept on doing the follow-up, and each time we added something new to involve people, right? And so we would add like a little, hey, what about this? Or would you like to see this at the event? And like Dave mentioned, bring them into it, make them feel like they're a part of it, make them feel like they're in your inner circle. Hey, I'd like to hear what you'd like to see here. Should we do, a full meal service? Should we do whatever we're going to do in our case? We ended up with the one of the last blasts we did. We gave away a free plane ride. So not unlike what Dave was doing, only I'm the hobby flight instructor. And so we actually went up. I took one of the winner of the raffle went up with me. We did the plane ride over Long Beach Harbor. He got a chance to use the controls of the airplane, pretend he was a pilot for the afternoon. And we actually flew another airplane next to us in formation and did some video air-to-air shots and all that. And so he got a chance to have those pictures and actually fly the airplane. And when we landed, he actually said, wow, that was really amazing. I'm actually thinking about learning. But in terms of those emails and that follow-up, I think what was critical was to add some spice each time we reached out and to make people feel involved. So that's from a putting on the event perspective. In terms of a participant perspective, I like, and I think most people in our attention, starved society where nobody has any attention span, I think they like the pace to continually be quick and keep moving. And so whether that's the initial event marketing, it sounds like it's going to be quick and interesting and exciting. They like a little bit of fun and food. So I've talked about 3 elements, and I think, Dave, you've done this really well. The last SMB Tech Fest I was at was one of the best events I've been to in all of these areas. But I call it education, which establishes credibility, networking, which establishes your validity and allows people to really do the bulk of growing their business, and then food and fun. And I think if you get those things at the right speed, the right cadence, right? So you're not having hours and hours of education and then one thing of food, but you can kind of intersperse them, education with some networking and food and fun. And if you keep the pace quick, I think that's really important, especially an event like yours, Dave, where you're going for a couple days. That really draws people in, and it doesn't make it feel like it's a burdensome thing. And also, you don't lose, kind of like quiet quitting in today's world. I feel like there's quiet quitting in event attendance, where people just go off on their phones and laptops. You've got to have a way to keep them engaged. And so I think what you did, was keep the pace quick enough that you're not losing people to phones and iPads all the time during the course of the event. So as an attendee, I really appreciate that. I don't have the the greatest attention span myself, despite what we try to do as a business. I guess, I'm a client too, right? And so that's a key thing.
That's great, Jim. And I think you actually answered one of the questions that came in from I think Kimeto. You asked about how do we kind of make the experience great. There was another question that actually came in earlier about what are some of the Mark Evans came with this innovative or unconventional approaches to using events as a catalyst for business growth. So, I can tell you from our perspective, we're all about that, right? So we do hands-on labs. It's selling through education, but we're always like every 2 months, I'm looking at the last lab that we did, what is the attendance, and then we're trying to find stuff that is relevant right now. That is also, this is the other thing to think about, okay? And this has to go with content syndication. The customers that you're looking for, okay, whenever they're thinking, okay, I want to do a fabric implementation, there's a lot of things that they want to think about before. They want to know some information about this before they call somebody up and say, I want to do a fabric implementation, right? So if your event is similar to like this, we're helping you guys understand stuff. You're helping somebody understand top 5 things to know before you consider a fabric implementation. Whoa, now people are interested, right? You're bringing them in there. So just think about, what are people asking on the cloud consumption journey? Is it beforehand, or is it in the middle? Is it after they've implemented? How can I make fabric grow within my business, right? I've implemented fabric, what now? Think about it like that, right? And our best attended labs right now are the fabric ones, which are great. And so we're always trying to be cutting edge, but also Teams migration, which is crazy. All of a sudden, we're getting 50 registrants per session, and it's really great, right? So interesting. Now, let me get over to Josh. We have a business. Let me get over to Josh. He's going to give us some really great insights on follow-ups on there. So Josh, do you want to come on in or get ready to come on in, and then we'll, all right. Are you on camera today?
I'm on camera today. Usually I like to stay in my cubby hole.
All right. Yes. Okay. All right.
Oh, hey, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you. And happy Friday to everyone here. To Sherman's point is the follow-up process. And I want to take a step back there, but the biggest thing that most people suffer with is net new sales, net new business. In doing so, you have to really determine where you're strategically going to be the best part at in this. And, I really came down with a list, an idea, a generated sales funnel that I follow, a process that I follow that may or may not help you in this case with confidence, bring you to converting 1, ROI, 2, getting those appointments, but 3, the biggest, most important part of all of this, building a relationship. So I really want to take a step back before you determine new sales is, let's just say, let's provide an example here. Let's just say you are a new sales rep, you are new to your company, and you're not really sure where to start. And really a good way to think about this is, do I start with my internal CRM? Do I research the notes from previous accounts? Because the one thing you want to find in a relationship, keyword there, is value. And not only value, but commonality. Is like, as an example, I saw a customer in my database purchase Dell laptops. Well, maybe I need to reach out to that client to say, well, how do I approach this situation with them? They don't know me. They may know the company from a few years ago, but what can I establish as commonality? And so if you see a customer in your database who had a discussion about laptops, lead in with that. Say, hey, what did you like about them? What did you not like? Find a way to establish commonality. The second part is working with your vendors. That's always important. I'm a big believer in that. Like Pax8, they can provide tons of support, sales coaching, as well as being your support services for areas that you may not be confident in speaking with your clients. Which leads to the third part, the hardest part, to be honest with you, is third-party lead gen tools. ZoomInfo, Seamless AI is casting out, the way I like to say, into the ocean. And how do I catch that one fish that it wants to bite? How do I gain that customer's attention? Because we live in a very virtual, oversaturated market. Think to yourself, what separates me? What value can I add compared to the rest of our clients? And so I came up with a very strategic approach. And the approach that I take when it comes to utilizing ZoomInfo and Seamless AI is I will reach to my marketing team. Like, what one pager could I use to introduce my company? And two, an example here is research your client on LinkedIn. See what they're posting. See what you can find in common with them, whether it was a college, where they're currently living, or even the things that interest them. Typically, just like you see in a Facebook, you will find people who find a very direct interest in a particular product or posting something that they find importance to them. Comment on that, have a presence. Because at the end of the day, with net new clients, they don't know you. They can't put a face to a name if you're to email and call them. But if they see that you're acknowledging their post on LinkedIn, you're commenting, you're supporting what they say, doing your research, you're more likely going to gain that relationship on the call. So it comes down to the cold calling, which we're all very nervous about here. And my strategic approach, it may be different from others, but for myself, this is the best approach that I take, is I like to send my clients an email and a LinkedIn request. Now, the first step in that is you got to think to yourself, well, what makes me open an email? Why am I opening some, but others I just delete or put in junk? Same for LinkedIn. How many of us could say we get hundreds and hundreds of paragraphed messages a day? It's insane. So you really got to think, well, what could I position to bring a value? How does that make it of an importance? I like to typically send in a LinkedIn request, an email, but I keep it short, to the point. This is after I research my client and what interests them. And I don't come with just a sales pitch. I just really want to pick their brain a bit, just about, hey, as an example, I saw that you had huge success in focusing with Cisco networks. I want to pick your brain a little bit here and see what interested you in that, and then build that relationship from there. Now, it really comes to, well, what do I do if I cold call? Like, let's just say I do the smile and dial technique. Send that LinkedIn, send that email, and it gives you a reason to call. Is to say, hey, I just wanted to confirm you got my email, my LinkedIn. Odds are they more likely have received it. And you just really want to say, touch lightly on the value that you want to make and say, hey, do you mind if I propose a time next Tuesday or Wednesday? Give it a week out and say, we can put it as a mile marker on the calendar and connect then. Mile marker being a key word there. It's not as aggressive. It gives the customer the option. And then you continue to build that relationship and process, because we do live in a world. Wouldn't it be great if they picked up the phone the first time and the appointment's right there and then? And research shows it takes 7 to 8 touches, and a touch point being a LinkedIn, an email, and a call. But if you send those 2 requests first, it gives you the reason to call about your value point, and then setting and scheduling a time, because you caught them off guard more than likely, for next week. So it really comes to another final say so here. In sales, 90% of what you're going to deal with is rejection. You're going to be rejected the majority of your day. That's what I tell my wife all the time. I work in a world of rejection. But it comes down to, how do you respond to rejection? And I created 3 different scenarios here in my experience, which how I handled rejection is a client, as a per se, who, or scenario 1, I had a client who did acknowledge my email, who says, hey, I really just don't have an interest right now. Or if you're an MSP provider, they would say, hey, look, I tell you what, I'm under contract still. So then I come to the approach, I thank you for your time. I want to keep and build that relationship in the network with you. And I'll put a mile marker 6 months out, since you said, hey, your contract ends then. But another key point, I think the best point that I did is find a customer's sense of humor. I once had a CIO of a company tell me, you know what, how about the 31st of never? And I kindly responded to say, you know what, how about the 32nd of never? And it took all 5 minutes with that humor, and the guy picked up the phone, and we had a great conversation and ended up pursuing sales. So I really will just leave it at this with you is, it takes eight touch points, and I'll be happy to, I'll send my email out on the chat here to reach out to you to say, hey, these are the touch points that I've crafted that could really help you in your process in your business and support you in having a successful, 1, appointment, but 2, converting into an ROI from an MQL to an SQL. So Sherman, I'll pass it back over to you.
All right. Hey, Josh, thanks so much, man. That was really great. And I think this is appropriate time to actually play the last Vince video here of what his thoughts were on event marketing. If we could go ahead and tee that one up. There you go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so we're coming up to time here. So I want to make sure I give our speakers a little bit of room to kind of give us their final thoughts, on this type of mastering events in business growth. So Dave, let me just ask you. I'll go with you first, and then go to Jim.
Yeah. The first thing is educate. Uh, Everybody does not want to be sold to. They absolutely want to gain knowledge from the event that you do. So educate them first. They know exactly where that thought leadership and that knowledge came from. The second one is do something that makes it rememberable or fun. Everybody is human. We all like to smile. So if you do a lunch and learn, go to a restaurant that has a nice steak, offer them a glass of wine, and it goes a long way. When you have a meal together, it's a great bonding. And lastly, I'll say, do consider recording it. It is not that difficult in today's age with small, inexpensive video cameras to record the lunch and learn, and then provide that to the prospect that was there, because they can go back and share it with their team. As you know, to go back and try to regurgitate or share with your team what you just learned, sometimes it's a challenge, because not everybody remembers. The retention's not there. So share that video with them, and they'll re-watch it again, and they'll share it with their team, and it has a very low cost, high ROI benefit to it.
Excellent final thought. That's really great. Jim, what would you say?
Sure. Along the lines of what Vince and Dave said, a really good friend of mine that built an MSP in Central California and was very successful with that. He said he wants to come away from every encounter with a prospect having given them something useful they could take away, even if he never works with them or sees them again. That was his idea, not mine, but I took that and tried to apply it. I'm not sure how successful I've been, but giving people something they could take away, particularly in our case, it might be a tech tip in Teams or SharePoint. It might be something about one thing I've learned about how to focus my business, how to focus our leadership team, how to overcome distraction, whatever it might be, and listen to them in order to get that. So I'd say listen and return. And those obviously are more one-on-one interactions. The second thing I wanted to say was LinkedIn came up a few times, and LinkedIn's been hugely valuable to. Sorry, I'm getting an echo here. Yeah. It's been hugely valuable to helping establish who we are and what we do, and being the prelude for these types of reaching out things. I do what I call these little plane casts, where I go up in an airplane and I compare something principle in the airplane to business, whether that's something to do with people or something technical. And every single event I go to, so Dave, when I went to SMB Tech Fest last, I ran into at least 3 or 4 people that said, "Oh, we've been watching your stuff on LinkedIn," and so that is a way to sort of prime the pump.
Oh, we do that too. We're masters at LinkedIn, man. We use it. We figured it out. LinkedIn Live. That's where we have here. We get about between 400 and 500 on LinkedIn Live that watch it throughout the, and then YouTube, as well. Post all this stuff. You have to. I don't want to call myself an influencer. I really don't like that whole thing. I'm not a Gen Y influencer. But I think that's what we're trying to do here, right? So, okay, lastly, look, thanks everybody for showing up today. We really do appreciate it. Hopefully that you're able to take something away from this and actually come away with it with some really good information on that. We're happy to help. We always have our first calls with any partner that wants to, is just a discovery to talk to you about things. So, we're very light on that. Wait, no, go back, save the date. We got Nick Hetty next month to talk about the dynamic and crucial role for business growth with distributors. We're going to ask him how he's doing certain things, right? And it'd be kind of good just to see, what's Pax8 up to, right? With that. So we look forward to having you there. And lastly, if you need to contact us, that's where our contact slide will come in. But we're landing the plane here. Hey, Dave, thank you so much. Jim, thank you so much. I sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your day to come up here and be on the show. I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it. So thanks again.
Thanks, Sherman.
And to the rest of the crowd, thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Sherman.
We'll see you in a month from now. All right. Thank you. Okay. Take care. Bye. Bye. Bye, everybody.